The Las Vegas Raiders have officially named Aiden O'Connell as their starting quarterback moving forward. Head coach Antonio Pierce also hinted that Davante Adams is still very much a part of the team and could be back on the field as soon as he's healthy. We'll get into what Pierce said about Adams later, but for now, let's focus on Aiden O'Connell and what this change means for the Raiders. Aiden O'Connell has been announced as the starting quarterback for the upcoming game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe this is a great move that the Raiders needed. Up until now, I've supported Gardner Minshew, as he did a good job, but his inconsistency has been an issue. As we discussed in the previous video, his up-and-down performances make it hard to secure wins consistently. Many fans think there are bigger issues with the Raiders beyond the quarterback position, but seeing O'Connell take over could give the team a fresh start and bring back some momentum. The upcoming game against the Steelers is definitely winnable. Despite having a strong defense, the Steelers are dealing with injuries and missing two key defensive linemen, making them vulnerable. Plus, their offense is still unproven, and it's uncertain if their current quarterback, Justin Fields, or even Russell Wilson, if he plays, can perform well. Having O'Connell at quarterback can provide a much-needed spark for the Raiders. He's shown great potential and has a strong arm that could help elevate the team's offense. While he might not be the fastest or the best at reading defenses yet, his raw arm talent is undeniable. He has the ability to make pinpoint throws, whether it's hitting Jacoby Myers on the sideline or finding Trey Tucker deep down the field. His accuracy and arm strength set him apart from Minshew, who has struggled with ball placement in recent weeks. However, for O'Connell to succeed, the offensive line needs to step up. They've had some good moments recently, but last week they allowed too much pressure on the quarterback. This week, they'll need to protect O'Connell better, especially considering they'll be facing TJ Watt, one of the best pass rushers in the league. Watt primarily lines up against the right tackle, so the Raiders will need to double-team him and have a solid blocking scheme to keep O'Connell upright and give him the time to make plays. Overall, this change at quarterback could be just what the Raiders need to turn things around. The Raiders need to ensure that DJ Glaze doesn't become the weak link in their game against TJ Watt. We know how relentless Watt can be, so Glaze must step up and deliver his best performance of the season. It's essential to provide extra support, especially after what we saw against Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns a couple of weeks ago. It baffled me that Garrett had several one-on-one chances during that game. It seemed like the play calls didn't account for the threat he posed. We need to be smarter with our play calling and ensure that we're chipping Watt on every play. Just like the way Max Crosby was handled in his game against the Chargers, we have to treat Watt with the same respect. Keeping Aiden O'Connell clean will be crucial. If we can do that, he should be able to get the ball out effectively. In his limited time last week, O'Connell showed promise. He led a drive that resulted in a touchdown, showcasing his ability to move the ball downfield. That drive started from the 1-yard line, and he managed to orchestrate a fantastic series. Despite being backed up against the wall, he also had another solid drive against the Panthers. Some may argue those teams were already ahead and playing conservatively, but I still believe O'Connell demonstrated his potential. If we protect him well, there's a real chance we can win this game. I'm genuinely excited to see what he can do against the Pittsburgh Steelers because this is a winnable matchup. Besides protecting O'Connell, the Raiders must also establish a strong running game. Last week, Alexander Mattison struggled, averaging only 2.5 yards per carry on 15 attempts. That's simply not good enough, and the team needs to improve in that area. Now, switching gears, Antonio Pierce was recently asked about Davante Adams, and his comments were quite revealing. Here's what he had to say about Adams' situation and his potential return. Pierce mentioned that Adams is making progress with his hamstring injury and getting closer to being back on the practice field. He's in good spirits, and they've had positive conversations recently. Pierce affirmed that Adams is still a Raider and has always been part of the team. Once he's healthy, he'll definitely be on the field. It's great to hear that Adams is committed to getting back to playing, and he's been putting in the work at the facility. This is encouraging news for Raiders fans. When Antonio Pierce was asked about Davante Adams, you could see the smile on his face. His response hinted that Adams could still be with the Las Vegas Raiders. Pierce mentioned that Adams is in good spirits and is making progress in his recovery. He stated clearly, he is still a Raider, and that Adams will return to practice and play once he's healthy. This positive outlook raises some interesting questions about Adams' future with the team. Reflecting on Pierce's comments, it seems the situation surrounding Adams hasn't been handled as well as it could have been. There have been reports, including one from Jay Glazer, and Adams himself mentioned some frustrations during an appearance on the Kay Adams podcast. It feels like the Raiders might have missed the chance to part ways with Adams earlier, and now they're unsure if any teams are genuinely interested in a trade. It's also possible that Adams was initially interested in joining the Jets. However, after the recent firing of Robert Saleh, he may have changed his mind. There's a chance that Adams spoke with Pierce and expressed his desire to stay, especially if the Jets are reluctant to take on his contract unless he restructures it, potentially costing him millions. If Aidan O'Connell performs well against the Pittsburgh Steelers, it could persuade Adams to reconsider and want to finish his career with the Raiders. There's a lot at play here, and it's intriguing to hear Pierce emphasize that Adams is still part of the team. However, I believe Pierce was guided in what to say. The Raiders likely want to maximize their options with Adams. It's possible that Pierce and Adams have discussed their situation and reached some sort of agreement. But considering that insiders like Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter are reporting that Adams has requested a trade, it signals that the Raiders are likely considering moving him. Those reports don't come out unless they have solid confirmation. So, when Pierce shares that Adams could remain a Raider, it might be a tactic to encourage other teams to reconsider. If teams are only willing to offer a low draft pick for Adams, Tom Telesco, the Raiders' general manager, might respond that they aren't in a rush to trade him. They can hold on to Adams until he's healthy and ready to contribute. This could be a strategic move by Pierce to convey that if Adams gets back on the field, he'll be playing for the Raiders, not elsewhere. If he's healthy, he's ready to go. The Raiders might be willing to offer a bit more for him, but personally, I don't think Davante Adams will play for the Las Vegas Raiders again. From what I've gathered, though this could be wrong, Adams quit on the team when Antonio Pierce called him out. While I'm not claiming his hamstring injury is fake, it does seem convenient, especially considering he had a similar situation last preseason. When Pierce said Adams should play if healthy, suddenly Adams had a hamstring issue that kept him from participating in preseason games. We'll see how this unfolds, but I believe the Raiders should still consider trading Adams. Even if he wants to stay, his long-term contract doesn't seem to fit with the team's future plans. Plus, I think Adams has started to regress as a player. He's had several drops, isn't getting open as effectively, and simply doesn't look the same at 32 years old. Now, on to some positive news regarding Christian Wilkins. Antonio Pierce recently shared that Wilkins was in the building at 6 a.m. after his surgery, indicating his commitment. Wilkins is currently on injured reserve and will miss at least 4 weeks, but he's eager to start his rehab as soon as he can. It's impressive to see him back in the facility so soon after surgery. It shows his dedication and leadership. He's the type of player who wants to contribute and help his teammates, ensuring everyone is prepared for upcoming games. Wilkins doesn't have to be in the building right now. He could easily take the time off to rest and recover. Instead, he wants to make sure Tyree Wilson, Adam Butler, and John Jenkins are ready for their assignments. He's actively watching tape on opponents like Isaac Sumalo and Mason Cole, which highlights his commitment to the team. While Wilkins will likely miss at least a month, some speculate it could take up to 6 months for a full recovery. However, professional athletes tend to heal faster than the average person, so I'm hopeful he'll be back sooner. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Aidan O'Connell taking over the starting job. Do you think Davante Adams could really return to the Raiders? It's also worth mentioning that there's some debate over whether Adam Butler caused Wilkins' injury. I've heard from a reliable source that he didn't, but take that with a grain of salt. Let me know your opinions in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll see you next time with more updates.